Welcome to the Dolphins Today by Chat Sports. Yesterday, we had the official 53-man roster, but that also happened across the entire NFL, which means there was a lot of players released from respective NFL teams. And on today's show, we're actually going to look at the waiver wire. Who are 10 players that Miami and Chris Grier could try to put a claim in to add to the Dolphins 53-man roster? Now, this will all be announced today at noon Eastern time when the waiver wire comes out. That will also be the time that the Dolphins could start signing people to the practice squad, which means you need to be subscribed because the Dolphins will make moves today, whether it's claiming someone from the waiver wire, whether it be signing people to the practice squad. We are going to update you on everything that Miami, Chris Grier, and Mike McDaniel end up doing today. So make sure you are subscribed, and let's get to 59K subscribers as soon as possible. All right, the number one player that I could see the Dolphins targeting on the waiver wire is Kadarius Toney, the former first-round pick from the New York Giants, who then was traded to the Kansas City Chiefs, actually helped win a Super Bowl for Kansas City, but then has not been able to do anything throughout his NFL career. And with the Dolphins depth chart looking as bare as it is, and it's quite bare, my friends. Only 4 wide receivers being kept. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Braxton Berrios, and then rookie Malik Washington. One of the lowest depth chart, at least kept players in the entire NFL at the wide receiver position. It would be stunning to me for the Dolphins to carry 4 wide receivers into the first game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think they add a wide receiver eventually, whether it be through a trade, whether it be through the waiver wire or signing a free agent. And I think Kadarius Toney could fit the skill set that Miami actually does need. Sure, is he a head case at times? Yes, and he has issues with drop, but he is so dynamic with the ball in his hands. And I just can see him working out with Mike McDaniel in this offense because if he's trusted to play the slot, his jittery, quick movements and his route running could allow him to shake free. And with those little misdirection, quick passes over the middle of the field, you get Toney with the ball in his hands in space, he could make a lot of good things happen. I would think a team might go out and try to claim him that's above Miami in the waiver order. But if I'm Chris Grier, I think I'm willing to take the chance on Kadarius Toney, and he's my number 1 guy. Number 2 could be a familiar face. Robbie Chosen Anderson. Yes, the former Miami Dolphin from a year ago ended up getting released from the San Francisco 49ers, which makes him available. And it just is a clear reunion possibility because, well, he was on the team last year, so there's familiarity with Coach McDaniel, Tua Tagovailoa, Jalen Waddle, and Tyreek Hill. So they would be able to fit like a glove and not really have any wasted time in him getting up to speed on the language, the verbiage, and what is expected in this Miami Dolphins offense. So I think Chosen Anderson is a very real possibility for the Dolphins to bring back because this third wide receiver needs to be figured out before week 1 because as much as I love Malik Washington and I've been high on him all offseason, don't know if I trust him in a meaningful football game this early on in the season to be your wide receiver 3, especially with a couple must-win games out of the gate against Jacksonville and Buffalo. How about alongside the offensive line, Ja'Tyre Carter, the Chicago Bear? And my background at Chat Sports is actually with the Chicago Bears. Like, I actually was producing that channel before I became the host of Miami Dolphins Today. If you didn't know that, fun fact. And I got to watch a lot of Ja'Tyre Carter in the 2023 NFL preseason. And ultimately, during practice and getting some reps for the Bears last season as he was on their 53-man roster the entire year. And when he got released, I actually talked to our Bears host, Harrison Graham, and I asked him, was this a shocking move? And he said yes. I actually believe in Ja'Tyre Carter's ability, and although he still got released by Chicago, who doesn't have the best offensive line, I would take a flyer on him. I don't know how many people that Chris Grier and Mike McDaniel want to potentially add to this Dolphins roster, because when you add, you also have to subtract, so there would be players that made the 53-man that could be released. But Ja'Tyre Carter is someone I would take a flyer on. I would be willing to keep him potentially over Lester Cotton and Jack Driscoll, who both made the Dolphins 53-man. I think Carter could be someone that has more long-term upside and better starting upside for Miami as well. I think if I were to go away from wide receiver on a waiver claim, Ja'Tyre Carter would be my number 1 choice. But you let me know. We've shown my top 3. Who is a different player that the Dolphins should sign? Or you could name one of the 3 that I already mentioned. Either way, tell me a name that you want Miami to add to its roster tomorrow, or I should say today, at the waiver wire. All right, I'm cheating a little bit here, but I'm putting two quarterbacks, Jameis Winston and Tyler Huntley. And you might say to me, well, these aren't really waiver wire targets. Well, you're absolutely right. The Cleveland Browns, in an absolute stunning move, kept four quarterbacks on their active 53-man roster. Yeah, they got Deshaun Watson, Jameis Winston, Tyler Huntley, and Dorian Thompson-Robinson. And it was reported really early in the day that DTR was going to make the roster for Cleveland, which ultimately looked like they were going to keep only three, and they were going to try to cut Winston or Huntley or try to trade one of them. Well, evidently no trade came through, but the reason why they kept four is because I think they are ultimately trying to trade one of Jameis Winston or Tyler Huntley. And I have long said that I think Miami should add a quarterback to this room, either to replace Skylar Thompson or to be another third guy, because I don't trust Skylar as the backup. If Jameis Winston is available via trade, and all it would cost you is a 2025 6th, 2025 7th, or 2025 pick swap, I am all in on the idea of getting Jameis Winston on this team. Because if Tua went down, sure, Winston has his ups and downs as a player, but he at least has starting experience, and he could give you a little bit of confidence that, hey, if he gets hot throwing the football here with these weapons, we could go out and win some football games, not because of our defense, but because of our offense still putting up 30 points. If Winston's available via trade, I think he should be absolutely calling the Cleveland Browns, he being Chris Grier, to get him on this squad. All right, offensive lineman here, Caleb Jones from the Green Bay Packers. And I think you're going to see a common theme here on my 10-player list where it's mostly wide receivers and offensive linemen with one or two quarterbacks. I think Miami just could look into adding an offensive lineman, whether it be on the outside, whether it be on the inside, because I don't think I've been given a ton of confidence from Lester Cotton and Jack Driscoll on the interior. So Caleb Jones is someone that I could see Miami going after that unfortunately couldn't make the Green Bay Packers roster just due to the pure numbers aspect of it. We have 5 more names to get to, but we are sponsored by Game Time, the only place where you should be getting your tickets. Whether you're going to a concert, comedy show, theater, or a sporting event like our Miami Dolphins, Game Time is the place to be. It's where I get my tickets, and they're actually offering you $20 off your first purchase when you download the app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS. They have this new feature rolling out called Game Time Picks. It actually filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. They have the lowest price guaranteed. They specialize in last-minute tickets with the lowest price. And if you find a ticket on a different app that is actually cheaper in the same exact area and same exact seat, they will credit you 110% of the difference. They have the best features to make purchasing your tickets easier, like the seat view. You'll have a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy in any venue that you go to. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Another offensive lineman on our list, Alex Leatherwood, the former first-round pick out of Alabama by Mike Mayock and the crew and over in the Las Vegas Raiders. By the way, quick side note, that draft class, I think it was in 2019 that the Raiders had, is maybe the worst draft class of all time. My, oh my, was that bad. But either way, I got asked on Twitter about Alex Leatherwood because he has simply not been able to find a home. He was in Las Vegas, then he was in Chicago, then he couldn't make it in the Los Angeles Chargers organization, and no, I'm out. I have him on the list as a target more or less because I just want to speak on his name because it is a former first-round pick. It's a popular name that NFL fans know. This guy stinks. He's been passed around on 3 rosters. Let's not try to act like he could be on Miami and somehow be this stud. I'm out on Alex Leatherwood. How about Naquan Jones, the defensive tackle? And this was really a possibility in my mind if Miami ultimately placed Benito Jones on the IR. Still remains to be seen if they will do that. He's been banged up with an injury. If he gets placed on IR, he'd miss quite a lot of games for Miami. But he is the projected number 1 nose tackle for this team. They kept 5 players on that defensive line. Parris Campbell, Zach Sealer, Benito, Brandon Pillai, and then Deshaun Hand. I do trust Campbell or Sealer to potentially fill that nose tackle role if they absolutely need to, but if they don't feel confident about Benito Jones' availability early on in the season, could he be placed on IR and then they go out and try to claim a defensive tackle? I think it's possible, and I also think Naquan Jones is the best one available. Back to the offense here with wide receiver Parris Campbell, released by the Philadelphia Eagles. This one's intriguing to me because he was really good in Indianapolis when he was a member of the Colts. Then signed a deal with the Giants and was absolutely bad. Like, he was terrible. And then ultimately finds his way to the Eagles organization where he's not able to make the 53-man roster, and he was not good enough to the point where they ended up trading for Jahan Dotson. I don't really know if Campbell's got anything left in the tank, but he does specialize in being a slot wide receiver, which is what Miami could use when you have Waddle and Hill on the outside and you're still looking for that third wide receiver. If they don't feel confident in some of these other guys available or Malik Washington or Berrios, bringing in Campbell for 1 or 2 games until OBJ and River Craycraft can come back in week 5, I think could make a lot of sense. Let me know, though, what you think the biggest position of need for the Miami Dolphins is. We have always talked about the interior offensive line, and I still do think that remains numero uno. But I think without a question, the biggest need on this team now is wide receiver. I labeled wide receiver as one of the top positions on this Dolphins depth chart behind running back and behind cornerback. Well, I think wide receiver has now fallen down a little bit due to all the injuries that Miami's has suffered with Eric Azukama, who ultimately got waived, River Craycraft, and then Taj Washington and Odell Beckham Jr. But you let me know which is the biggest position need in your opinion. Interior offensive lineman again here, Matt Hennessy, a Philadelphia Eagle who could not make the cut again. Former Atlanta Falcon who actually started some games for them a couple years ago at center and on the interior offensive line. He's someone that I know the Dolphins like Andrew Meyer, the UDFA out of UTEP from 2024 in April. But if they ultimately want to go with a more experienced guy and a more confident backup center where you could have faith in him starting if Liam Eichenberg or Aaron Brewer ends up going down, I think Matt Hennessy is a name that we should keep our eye on for. Don't know if he gets claimed, but I would like to see him potentially have some eyeballs looked at him from Miami's side. All right, sorry for the quick edit there, but our last player, and we said we were going to do 10 names, was wide receiver Tim Patrick, but he ultimately signed with the Detroit Lions, so Patrick is not going to be an option for the Miami Dolphins. But I do think wide receiver is a very important position to go out and potentially add to, as you only have 4 guys. Keep your eye on Christian Wilkerson. He could be someone that the Dolphins have their eye on, former Patriot, former Las Vegas Raider. I think he's good enough to be on an NFL roster. But make sure you are subscribed because when the waiver wire list is revealed at noon Eastern time, we will have a video covering it for you, but also who ultimately ends up on the Dolphins practice squad. So subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow.